Meghan and Harry are in their biggest PR storm yet. An alleged hospital record leak about their children has set the internet alight. The palace is stone silent, and Montecito is in full damage control. We're unpacking what happened, why it matters, and what comes next. Before we pour any tea, one boundary. We will not repeat or speculate about private medical details of minors. This is about optics, strategy, and fallout, not children's health. Now, the setup. A baby arrives in the early morning, the promise of a first look tomorrow, then a crisp Instagram, "It's a boy," timed perfectly to catch breakfast shows in America and tea time in Britain. The old palace balcony became the social media grid, and the traditional press clutched its pearls. From day one, the message was unmistakable. Our story, our stage, our lighting. The strategy worked until a draft blew in. Reports surfaced of confidential hospital documents, allegedly from a private facility, leaking into the wild. Not screenshots waved around, but enough whispering to kick the rumor mill into a sprint. The Sussex switchboard lit up, lawyers engaged, quiet calls went out. Publicly, however, came the neatest phrase in the crisis dictionary: no comment. Legally sensible, optically explosive, especially for a brand built on candor and mental health honesty. Enter the Streisand effect. Try to hush the story and it finds a megaphone. Takedown requests, some described online with suspicious precision, look to the crowd like neon underlining. To the internet's hive mind, a swatted rumor is a rumor confirmed. Unfair? Often. Predictable? Always. Across them all, the palace chose its most devastating move: immaculate silence. No denials, no sources close to, soothing and friendly broadsheets, no quiet clarifications, just stillness. In royal PR, silence can be a smirk. Translation, many heard between the lines: you left the orchestra, don't ask us to tune your violin. Let's rewind, because context colors everything. From her first curtsy, Meghan was a master of the frame. The christening wrapped in privacy, a scarcity of unstaged baby photos, guest lists pruned like bonsai. The press held at arm's length, often via an Instagram arm. Many applauded, plenty grumbled, but the principle was clear: curate or bust. That kind of immaculate control is glamorous until reality refuses to stay put. The alleged paperwork, whether accurate or not, bypassed the velvet rope and wandered into the crowd. That is every image architect's nightmare: a draft through a perfectly arranged room. Suddenly, the public who had accepted the curated bouquet began inspecting the vase for cracks. Online sleuths then did what they do best: lined up polished birth narratives against bureaucratic breadcrumbs and started squinting. Not at children's details, we won't do that, but at timing, location, sequence, and who did what when. Perhaps it's the telephone game, perhaps it's the cleaned-up retelling of a messy human day. Either way, perception took a wobble. When people suspect you're editing the story too tightly, they begin to tug at every seam. Meanwhile, the commentary chorus warmed up. Morning anchors who once cooed about history now traded barbs about hypocrisy. Supporters called this what it looks like: an invasion of privacy, and warned against turning children into content. Critics insisted the bill had finally arrived for years of velvet rope access. When you control the narrative, they say, people pry when the curtain slips. It's a harsh lesson, but the internet scribbles it in Sharpie. Hollywood heard the noise. In rooms where brand risk is measured in commas, the temperature eased from champagne to chamomile. Industry whispers say some partners moved projects to the review pile. The phrase PR hurricane made its rounds. Corporate code for, we love attention, not the kind that scares advertisers. Streaming executives adore a controlled confessional. They dread a roller coaster they didn't build. Across the pond, polling tea leaves suggested a dip in warmth in the UK and a wobble in the US. Comment sections, once a fortress of leave them alone, started asking sharper questions. If the narrative is built on speaking your truth, why a wall of silence? If this is nonsense, why not say so clearly? The lack of a categorical denial, strategic, perhaps legal, was read by the crowd as interesting. The crowd is rarely gentle with what it finds interesting. Advocacy voices stepped in, bless them. Mental health organizations urged better, kinder discourse. Neurodiversity advocates pushed the message they always push: destigmatize, educate, don't weaponize. Child welfare groups reminded everyone of the simplest rule in a complicated week: minors are not public property. Two truths can share the stage. Public figures' PR strategies are fair game, and children's privacy is not. Back in Montecito, the whispers get domestic. He, say the murmurs, favors the soft shoe route. Let legal handle the paperwork, stop feeding the algorithm, ride out the cycle. She, say the same murmurs, prefers a decisive counterpunch, a crisp statement, a controlled sit-down, a reclaimed narrative with clean edges. Neither instinct is wrong. Together, they hum under the floorboards like tension in a chandelier. Now, the part the sleuths love, timeline touchiness. Talk of midwife plans, last-minute hospital runs, announcements timed for 2 continents. None of that would be extraordinary for any other family. But when the brand promises precision, ordinary wrinkles look like rips. Add an alleged paperwork saying the sequence was different, and perception runs the show, not proof. The palace's stillness deserves a second glance. In the old days, by which we mean a few news cycles ago, an aide might have slid a calming note to a friendly columnist. This time, nothing. That implies 2 things at once. 1, they don't want a finger near the socket, and 2, those institutional bridges may be more than singed. Royal silence has a vocabulary: indifferent, wary, or quietly pleased. It seldom happens by accident. Let's talk about why this particular storm feels bigger than usual. It's not a photo, not a headline, not an offhand quote. It's paperwork, the driest kind of allegation, but the most potent in the court of public opinion. Forms, timestamps, signatures, sequences, these feel authoritative even when they float in rumor. They also cut neatly across a couple's carefully crafted storytelling and ask an unromantic question. How much was curated, and how much was simply edited for public consumption? Here's where the brand paradox bites. Harry, with a history that explains his mistrust of the press, is disarmingly good on camera when he chooses to be. Meghan, trained to command a lens, is formidable at selling a message. Together, they excel at controlled revelation. But no comment clangs against a brand built on openness, and takedowns feel like confirmation to an audience already marinated in suspicion. There is, however, a way out, unglamorous, effective, and tried. First, set the rule. We do not discuss our children's medical or educational lives, and we ask you not to either. 1 sentence, no embroidery. That's not evasive, that's responsible. Second, clarify adult-facing facts that can be shared cleanly, timeline basics, logistics, and anything that is categorically untrue. Do it once, without clever wording, without a sequel baked in. Clear beats clever. Third, starve the bonfire. The algorithm eats oxygen. Every cryptic hint, every legal scuffle, every whispered exclusive is another log on the fire. Boredom is the only extinguisher that works at scale. Fourth, pivot to proof of purpose. Build or fund something tangible: veterans initiatives, digital safety tools, mental health services that function when the cameras leave. Results are the only PR that gossip cannot dent. Fifth, be consistent. The public forgives almost anything except the feeling of being toyed with. Choose your boundary, keep it. Don't sell it later as a limited edition reveal. For the audience with the loud remote, a brief etiquette refresher. You can demand ethical coverage and refuse to amplify unverified documents. You can insist on consistency without demanding intimacy. You can admire the drapes without peeking into the nursery. Sharp does not need to be cruel. Let's stitch together the beats so far. Alleged hospital documents trigger a rumor cyclone. Legal teams move. Takedowns ripple. The Streisand effect does its worst. A brand built on candor meets a moment where silence sounds loud. The palace stays quiet. Hollywood partners reach for the pause button. Polls hint at fatigue. Advocacy groups remind everyone of the line that should never be crossed: children's privacy. Whispers of strategic tension at home add to the hum. What happens next will come in one of 3 flavors. 1, the surgical statement. A short, definitive line about privacy for minors, a crisp denial of provable falsehoods, and a request to move on. Executed cleanly, it drains the oxygen. 2, the controlled sit-down. High risk, high reward. If the answers feel like closure, the story ends. If they feel like choreography, it grows a sequel. 3. Strategic boredom. No interviews, no hints, no leaks, just a wall of useful work. Slow, steady, and very effective against trust headaches. Whichever path they choose, tone will matter as much as content. Humility beats hotter. Clarity beats cleverness. Boundaries beat brinksmanship. The public doesn't need to be scolded, it needs to be reassured that adults are in the room. A reminder of the stakes. This union mattered then and still matters now. An American, biracial woman stepping into a centuries-old institution. The symbolism was enormous and remains so. One hot news cycle doesn't erase that, but reputations are like crystal, dazzling when polished, unforgiving when cracked. To catch the light again, they'll need less